We have a leader of NDP and official leader of the opposition, Andrea with us today, and we're going to talk to her regarding whatever is the latest situation of COVID-19 in our province, and particularly our provincial government has given us some guidelines for and reopening the school. Kids will be in class. So we are all going to talk about that with the Andrea Harvest. Andrea, welcome to Radio Parvasi and welcome to Radio Parvasi TV.
Well, thank you so much, Rajinder. I'm very happy to have the chance to chat with you and your listeners.
Okay, so it's unprecedented snowfall in Ontario, in GT area particularly. And first of all, we wish you, we have best wishes for you. I know you are working hard in these days also. Please drive safe. And what you have to say on this snowfall? It's totally unprecedented we have seen in Toronto area.
I know, it's absolutely amazing the amount of snow that has fallen. And I just want to hope that people are able to stay safe, and if you can, stay home, and if you have to go out, please be careful. For those that have to get out to go to work, just try to be as safe as possible, because it's treacherous out there.
Okay, and we have got news recently from Prime Minister's office, also from other media outlets also, that Alexa McDonough, who was the leader of NDP for a long time in Nova Scotia, and then she was leader of NDP at the federal level, got Order of Canada, many awards she got during her political career, and we also pay tribute to her, and it's a big loss to our Canadian political system.
Yeah, Ontario and all of Canada is, especially people who are NDPers, are mourning the loss of Alexa McDonough. She was a fierce advocate for everyday people. She worked hard. She was very, very smart, but very tenacious. She always stood her ground, but at the same time, a very, very caring woman, very thoughtful. In fact, I just realized it myself. My very first time running in an election was for her in 1997.
Oh.
I was running federally in Hamilton. Yep.
Okay, and so coming back to point, Andrea, the flip-flop policy of the provincial government is still on, particularly regarding kids going back to school. They didn't tell us till last that what is their policy. Now parents are all, in confusion. What to do? I mean, kids were supposed to go today, but somehow because of snowfall, they're not going in class. Virtual classes are going on for today, but tomorrow when they go back to the school, we don't know. We don't have any clear-cut policy of the government. Many things they are not telling us. If there is an outbreak, so parents are totally confused.
Yeah, I'm hoping that tomorrow kids can get back to school. I think everybody agrees that it's important for kids, not only academically, but for their well-being, for their mental health, for their socialization and all of those things. But the goal now is not only to make sure they go back to school tomorrow, but that they stay in school until June, because we all know that our kids were out of school more than any other kids across North America. Even in most European jurisdictions, our kids were out longer than anybody else. But parents are worried. They're terrified, and they feel like they don't have the kind of information that they should have to be able to make sure that their kids are going to be safe in school. So there's the problem. They no longer have the information about outbreaks in schools. So they're not going to be told when there's kids in the class. When your kid's in a class with some other child that's gone home with COVID-19, they're not going to know about outbreaks. They know that the classrooms are still crowded. They know that the air quality is not where it should be, and it's not being checked by anybody. They know that half of the kids in the classroom are going to be unvaccinated, because only 50% of kids in the younger grades, age 5 to 11, only 50% are vaccinated at this point. So there's a lot of questions and a lot of worries for parents. And, the bottom line is, it didn't have to be this way. Ford, it made the decision to cut the tracking cut the testing because they didn't invest in the testing. Yes, we have 2 rapid tests for every child this week, but what happens next week? What happens the week after that? It's just awful. And we also know with Omicron, there's going to be teachers as well and other adults in the school systems that are going to get sick, and they're not going to be able to go to school. So what does that to go to the school? So what does that mean? The class sizes are going to get even bigger. It's really, really, really troubling.
Okay, and similar situation we can see in long-term care homes also. We had to, bring in our armed forces there in the long-term care homes when the situation was just horrible. Now, even their Minister of Long-Term Care Homes, Rod Phillips, has resigned. Again, we are totally in crisis as far as our long-term homes are concerned. There's so many outbreaks there again.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's outrageous. There's just no way that, all of this 2 years later, we're rerunning the same problem in long-term care. There never was an iron ring, you remember. Doug Ford basically pretended that he was going to put an iron ring around long-term care. It's still not there. We don't have the PPE for those workers. That's one of the reasons why so many workers in long-term care are getting sick again, because they don't have the masks. They don't have the N95s. They're not getting the protection they need. There's not enough staffing. So the very reason that those armed forces got called in is happening all over again. And we remember how tragic that was. 4,000 seniors died of COVID-19 in long-term care, but they didn't only die of COVID-19. People literally lost their lives because of dehydration, like lack of water, because of malnourishment, lack of food. So those armed forces, we need them now more than ever. But what we also need is hiring thousands and thousands and thousands of new workers. But you're not going to get those workers if you don't improve the working conditions. So paying them a decent wage, making sure the working conditions are decent, making sure they have the access to PPE to be able to stay safe in the long-term care homes. Those are all the things that this government should have and could have been doing, but they didn't bother. And now, tragically, we're in the same situation yet again.
And the resignation of Mr. Rod Phillips has come during this crisis. It's again astonishing for us, and we don't know who is going to replace him. Andrea, we recently had a press conference with Mr. Naveed Mohammed, Dr. Naveed Mohammed, president of William Hospital Health System. He was very much worried. We know that Peel Memorial Urgent Healthcare Center has been closed down because of the shortage of the staff. Situation is equally bad at the Brampton Civic Hospital also. Bramptonians are asking for another hospital, full-flight hospital. We are not getting it. Even you are also advocating very strongly to have another hospital as early as possible. So situation in the Peel area is equally very, very much worrisome.
No, you're absolutely right. Look, let's. Can I just finish off the long-term care thing by saying it's really shocking that the government didn't even appoint somebody who's going to be totally focused on long-term care. So Rod Phillips doesn't think the government's doing a good job. He's walking away. He can't defend the record. He can't defend his trip to St. Bart's when everybody else was locked down. So he's walking away. But they gave the job to somebody who's got 2 other positions. So long-term care is not going to get better, and it just shows that Doug Ford is it's not a priority for Doug Ford to make sure our long-term care system is fixed. However, the hospital system, especially in Brampton, where we know hospital hallway medicine was that's what Brampton experienced for years, hallway medicine under the Liberals. And then with the Conservatives, things have just gotten even worse. And of course, when the virus hits and you have to, close urgent care centers, that's just awful. So Peel Memorial, so that staff can go to the other hospitals, it should never have come to this. But Peel Memorial should be a full hospital already. So not only should we have Brampton Civic, but we should also have Peel Memorial as a full hospital. And we need a 3rd hospital in Brampton. Brampton's continuing to grow. It's the population increases in Brampton aren't slowing down. At the very least we need is those 3 hospitals. We've made that commitment. We made that commitment in the last campaign. Now I know Liberals made promises for 15 years and never delivered. Doug Ford just broke a promise to Brampton in terms of the size, the number of beds, and the changes to Peel Memorial, lack of an emergency ward, not enough beds. That's just not good enough. And so, the alarm bells ringing, the doctors ringing the alarm bells they're absolutely right. And it's not just the physical space, the building of the facility. It's where do we get the staff? We need a plan to recruit, to retain, and to return our healthcare workers. So people are still leaving the healthcare system because it's such terrible conditions. They're exhausted. They're run off their feet. They're stressed out, and their wages are being capped by the government. We need to respect them. We need to make sure we respect them so that they don't leave. We need to show them that we actually do believe that they're heroes by taking off this wage cap and fixing the staffing problem so that those that have left will come back. And we need a plan to hire more and more and more healthcare workers, and the government's doing none of those things.
Okay, Andrea, now last point before you go, coming to the point of the small businesses also. We know most of them are struggling. The government has again imposed many harsh instructions on them. So they are not able to survive even at this time. So as we discussed earlier too, most of the benefits or the financial aid has come from the federal government. Our provincial government has recently announced that they will be giving $10,000 grant to some of the businesses. We are still not clear about that. They have not updated this on their website. So you were advocating so many benefits or financial support for all the small businesses, which we are not seeing even now.
No, you're absolutely right, and it's really shameful because let's face it, jobs are on the line, families' livelihoods are on the line, the dreams of people who run small businesses, of entrepreneurs, are being shattered, and in some cases, generations of the same family that has owned the same business are losing their businesses. And we can do so much better than that. We can all remember when Doug Ford chose to support the big box stores, right? The massive advantages given to the big box stores, while the little guys were ignored. It's time that the little guys get the help that they need. And a $10,000 grant is it's fine if you can actually get it, right? If you actually qualify and you can get it. But what we need is an actual program that reflects the needs of the businesses. Is it going to cover their payroll? Is it going to cover their rent? Are we going to be able to prevent evictions from happening? Are we going to be able to make sure that their HST is deferred so that they don't have to even think about that until after this pandemic is over? Are we going to be able to make sure that they can cover the expenses that they've had in having to lock down yet again? But none of those things have happened, and that's shameful. Because, if we have those businesses survive, if we do what we can, if we do everything we can, if we move every mountain possible and invest in supporting those small businesses, it will help us. It will help us recover economically a lot faster. It will help us bring jobs back a lot quicker, once this pandemic is managed and behind us. But if we just continue to let these businesses close up, and let these people's dreams be shattered, let these jobs be lost, then it's going to put us even further behind in our ability to get back up on our feet once this virus has been handled.
Okay, I interviewed Nina Thangdi, our Associate Minister of Businesses, last week. So I urged her, I appealed to her that many other businesses who are struggling, they must be considered. Very few businesses are being given this grant, though we have not seen how many of them will qualify. So I also request you take it to the premier level, to the cabinet or to the government, that they must consider many other businesses also who are really at the verge of collapse.
Yeah, I agree with you, and we will not stop fighting. We are going to keep fighting to support those businesses, keep fighting to try to get the government to understand how important it is to support those businesses in a way that actually keeps them afloat, right? That doesn't allow them to die. I mean, we just can't let that happen. It's a terrible situation, and we're going to keep. I think businesses need to know that the NDP is in your corner. We've been fighting for you since the very first lockdown. Since the very first lockdown, we've been fighting for small business, and we're not going to stop.
Okay, thank you, Andrea. We are expecting election very soon in our province, and we wish that we will be over of this pandemic. Till then, we don't know whether election will be in time or being delayed, on what kind of election we are having in coming days. But again, we wish that we should get out of this pandemic as early as possible. You have to add anything at the end, Andrea?
My understanding is we're definitely going to have an election on June 2nd. We don't know what the voting situation is going to look like, as you said, but what we do know is Doug Ford is not the premier that this province needs. We need a new premier, a new party, but we don't need to go back to the Liberals, who for 15 years didn't do what they should have done and gave us hallway medicine. We have 40 MPPs, the NDP does, 40 MPPs right now. They're experienced. I'm an experienced leader, and I'm asking the people of Ontario, vote NDP this time, and we'll get a government that rebuilds this province so that we can all have a good life here.
Thank you so much, and take care.
Thank you so much. Take care, you too, Rajinder. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you so much. ਇਹ ਸਨ NDP ਦੇ ਲੀਡਰ ਆਫ ਦਾ ਆਫੀਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਆਪੋਜੀਸ਼ਨ ਐਂਡਰੀਆ ਹਾਰਵਥ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਕੁਝ ਖਾਸ ਮੁੱਦਿਆਂ ਤੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਸੀ।